Hello and welcome back. Finally, after 2 weeks of not posting anything here on the podcast, I'm finally back at home. Today I was finally able to ride my bike again with prime biking conditions. So it cooled down pretty much the last few days, I guess, as it did all over Europe. Instead of 32 degrees, it had around 20 degrees. Perfectly chilly for riding. On the uphill, I was almost not sweating, at least in the warm-up part. Today I had to make the decision between going to sleep or doing a biking session, but I pushed through as I thought if I'm not riding today, I will make excuses the next few days and I won't be able to publish a podcast episode, so I went for it. Strangely, I should have been tired the whole day, but that wasn't the case. I did the mistake, so note to myself, never book a flight that late as I did yesterday. So the flight landed at around 12 a.m. I was home very late. I wasn't sleeping that long, but I managed to get up on time. I didn't feel as tired as I thought I would feel. So I learned a very important lesson today or in the last few days, because a lot of people say, oh, I don't need vacation. I was one of those guys too, pretending to being able to work without any breaks. But the last few days, I've seen that also exhausting vacation, like running around in a city. I was doing a city trip in Copenhagen, also running around all day long, which is really exhausting, was somehow recharging. And I expected myself to be really wasted today, but it wasn't the case. So also riding my bike, in the last few months I noticed after longer breaks, intentionally or unintentionally, my performance was quite good. So obviously longer breaks, like 2 or 3 months, aren't playing in my favor. But shorter breaks, like 1 or 2 weeks, aren't affecting my stamina that much. At least on the short track I'm training every other day. But you probably already know, if you start to educate yourself on fitness, everybody who understands his craft is saying that rest is almost or even more important than the exercise itself. As the muscle is growing, the body is adapting, doing resting. If you sleep properly, don't exaggerate with your trainings. I'm doing every other day. I noticed that could be a too short interval actually, but I will do the 2 weeks testing as I did with the interval training on the flat cycle path. Just that I'm doing the 2-week experiment on steep track, steep forest road with a few short descents on a local trail, just to see if actually going uphill, doing the interval training there is improving my uphill stamina, also on longer uphills, which usually take around 2 hours. Those who follow me on Instagram know that I actually prefer riding in the morning, especially during the summer, and I like to do that not because I'm waking up early and I try to use that time as good as possible, but I like to go for a ride if it's colder. Around 20 degrees, that's perfectly, as I'm feeling hot quite quickly and also sweating if it's getting hot. So today it had prime conditions, 22 degrees. In the shadow it was perfectly cold. On the uphill during the warm-up I wasn't even sweating. And that was also probably due to that I didn't push that hard because I wanted to save my stamina for the steep climb, because I noticed at my current pace the first intense interval is starting where those 2 steep ramps are. So I have to hit those ramps really hard. If I don't do the interval training, I usually try to ride those steep ramps up with slower speed, as I noticed if I'm not pushing that hard on those steep tracks and pushing afterwards where the forest road is getting flatter, or at least the steepness is more consistent. I was able to ride faster times if I conserve my stamina, if I save up my stamina for the flatter part and play it safe on the steep ramps. It's always quite hard to manage my stamina on those steep climbs, but today on the first interval it didn't felt as exhausting as it was on the last time, probably due to that I wasn't used to pacing myself in the right way. I was out of my routine for 2 weeks. So I was almost relaxed on the first downhill section, which then led me to push the second intense interval even harder. There I experienced probably the best feeling ever. I would call it the flow. You guys who are riding mountain bike since a longer period of time probably know that state. If you get to a certain fitness level, you can maintain a certain speed. Let's say, quote unquote, normal people aren't able to keep up for that long as you are. So you have some sort of superpower, being able to keep that pace without getting exhausted. In my opinion, that's one of the best feelings, where you actually see the results of the countless hours you put in training or just going for a ride, having fun. I really like to push myself and then see the results where the stamina and my power is increasing. Only that at the end I was quite exhausted. I played it safe on the second downhill and then I pushed even harder on the last interval. I knew that I would hit the steepest ramps ever on this track at the very end, so the third interval is always the hardest. I'm exhausted from the first two intervals, and then the road is even getting steeper, so the last section is always harder than those before. And today I was that fast that I actually passed the spot where I would usually stop by around, I would say, 100 meters. And there the grass was really high, almost felt like I'm riding wilderness. The road is really unforgiving at the very end, so there is a short, flatter section, but compared to the other parts, it's really steep. So you might think that after those countless uphills I have done, those interval trainings are easy for me, but they are not. I always keep myself disciplined and motivated that I'm thinking back to my last ride, where I actually pushed through, knowing that the pain is only short term. That once I stop, as today I breathed like crazy for 1 minute or 2 minutes, after that I'm almost relaxed again. I'm exhausted, but not to agree where I couldn't go any further. The pain is just really short term, nothing more. Because I read somewhere, I don't know where or from who that study was, that actually if you cannot go any further, maybe during riding your bike or diving down without any assistance, so holding your breath, and you feel like you're suffocating, or if you're riding your bike you feel like you cannot go any faster or further, you actually have only reached 40% of your potential. For me, it was kind of surprising that actually the body is only able to output 40%, and then you already feel like you're done, you're ready to quit. But a friend of mine actually, he had a very good reason why the body is doing that. If we go back where basically we've been all living in caves, hunting and trying to survive, actually keeping those remaining 60%, they have been necessary to run from dangers such as lions and bears, stuff like that. Only putting out 40% was kind of a security mechanism nature built into us, giving us some extra buffer to run from danger. And with that said, never sacrifice on your breaks, never sacrifice on sleep. It might save you some time having some extra hours during the day, but in the long term, never sacrifice your sleep. That's just my takeaway from the last few months, riding more consciously and also living my life more consciously from a body perspective. Let me know if you like such episodes about how your body's working and how you can expand your potential, either by calling in or writing me on Instagram. My Instagram handle can be found in the episode description. Thank you, and until the next time.